Hello, I'm Steph Mills, Director of Customer Advocacy at Matillion. I'm joined by Johnathan Romero, Global Head of Analytics at GHD. Johnathan, can you tell me a little bit about your company and what it is you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Steph. So GHD is a global beauty brand. We specialize in hair care products such as hair straighteners and hair dryers and curlers and various other implementations. So a global brand, been around for about 20 years, established in the UK, and is now a global brand selling around 30 plus countries. And with the aim and the kind of motto of giving women and men across the world a good hair day every day.
I love that, and certainly your reputation precedes you as a business. And how about your role within GHD?
Yeah, so I'm the head of analytics, and with a focus really on the e-commerce side of the business, but we also kind of do touch upon various other functions within the business.
And just on that, Johnathan, how important is data to your organization? What do you use it for, and who within your organization uses it?
Yeah, so it's obviously a critical component now of all businesses, probably. Certainly for us, it is a key component, and it's a key pillar in our kind of strategic direction of the business. We are aiming to be more and more data driven or data informed as we grow and mature. So the business is using data across all the key functions such as sales and trading and marketing, customer service, supply chain and logistics. So it really spans the whole breadth of the company.
And can you tell us a little bit about your setup before and the problem you were looking to solve with Matillion?
Sure. I mean, Matillion was introduced really to just get a handle on all the data that we had, and siloed data across various different places that we really wanted to kind of get together and put it in one place. And the typical kind of an analytics stack these days is to centralize and transform that way. So that's really what Matillion allowed us to do.
And thinking about the sort of real world impacts of that problem, you've spoken about the fact that you work with teams across the business. So how was that issue affecting, business performance, customers, speed to insight, anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, you can't really operate, certainly in the e-commerce world and the fast-paced, retail world that we operate in. You cannot operate effectively without timely and effective and accurate data. So, one of the key components, one of the key things we wanted to do right away with Matillion is to just get all our advertising data, all our sales data, all our website data into one place, where we could see it joined together, and in in sort of like a real-time fashion, and present that back to the business. So, and then as part of that join process is that we're now capable or able to look at metrics that we weren't able to before. Once you start combining, all these data sets, you suddenly open up a world of possibilities. So things like, your true return on investment and things like that you didn't have before until you started to bring everything together.
And I guess for a growing company, a growing global brand, the data possibilities are just getting bigger and bigger. It's just endless. So, I mean, it was going to be more challenging if you hadn't solved it, but also there's more opportunities off the back of that too.
Yeah, for sure. There's always opportunities. What tends to happen, and GHD were going back 3 or 4 years, we were still relatively young, relatively immature in our data strategy and our data roadmap. And what happens is once you start to get into these areas of providing sets of data or a certain analysis or regular reporting, whatever it is, back to the business, you suddenly start to have key stakeholders in that business who hadn't seen it before suddenly see it and start to ask more questions. And once they start asking more questions, you're then able to start to develop your roadmap and see where does the business want to grow, how does it want to use more data, is that going to be valuable to us in the long term? And so it does tend to snowball, and Matillion kind of sits, for us, it's always sat in the middle of all that. So yeah, it's been a great spearhead for the data roadmap at GHD.
And those snowballing questions are just, I guess, placing more and more pressure on your team, right?
Yes, exactly. It is true. The more successful you are, the more that you bring in. But then we're also able to say, look, this is what we can do with this, and let's bring more people in, or whatever it is. It allows us to have that that case study, that proof of concept, if you like, to actually build and go forth and do more.
So how and why did you choose Matillion as a solution to the problem? What set it apart from similar solutions on the market?
Yeah, Matillion. So I've had a history with Matillion going back several years, and it solved a problem for me in the last place, and so it can, it's always been there for me in that sense. So it was a tool that I've just found to be so valuable in my day to day, and I wanted to bring that into GHD as well to solve similar problems. And essentially, the essence of it is that while we're a big business, we have a small team, and we're still kind of early on in our journey with data and bringing the business up to a certain level of maturity. And so we don't have the budget. We don't have a big team of data engineers that can kind of go out and build all these data pipelines for us. So we needed something that we could use without having in-depth knowledge of data engineering, but still be able to produce really great results and still have that flexibility that allows us to really kind of customize and do things, exactly the way we want to do. So Matillion has always been that tool for me. And so yes, we use various components within Matillion for extraction purposes. It basically connects up to a lot of the different things that we need to do, and then of course obviously the transformation components, which are for us the key components of the tool.
And tell us a little bit about the reception within your team to Matillion. Was it quite easy for the team to pick it up, and were there any sort of aha moments?
Yeah, I think it was. It's so intuitive in many ways that it was very simple for technical people to come in and use it. These are not non-technical people, but that it's still very, very straightforward but very powerful at the same time. So yeah, it was really no problem at all.
And lots of people talk about the low code aspects and how you may have technical teams, but not everybody is necessarily on the same level, so it is a great leveler. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about the migration from your old way of working to now using Matillion? What was that like?
Yeah, for us, it was relatively straightforward because there wasn't much in place before. So it wasn't a huge migration. There was, so a lot of it was kind of new build and going out to the business and gathering requirements and kind of starting from the beginning. But yeah, there were certain things that we wanted to kind of redo around reporting, which was, taking some of the manual Excel stuff that was happening and reproducing that into an automated flow within Matillion. So yeah, and like I said, those are relatively straightforward and easy to do.
And so how are you actually using it today? Which departments are using Matillion, and what sort of insights does it provide?
Yeah, it's mostly, so the end users of Matillion is mostly just my team, and a couple other the technical analysts in various other departments do drop in occasionally and use it for their own stuff. So it does have that flexibility, so across e-commerce and some of the finance teams are using it, and within the e-commerce team, we have the Amazon team, and they use it as well. So yes, there's a few different users.
And what insights do you have now that you didn't have before?
Well, it's in itself, it's not generating insights, but the outputs that we can actually use and start to put together is where the insight comes from. So as an example, last Black Friday, we were able to automate a lot of the real-time reporting that we wanted to do. So sales through the website and traffic through the website and all those kind of things. And we were able to, using Matillion, we were able to get that down to kind of like a 5-minute kind of delay between sale and being able to report that back to the business. And so within the first day, it was very clear that, without going into too many details, it was clear that performance wasn't as strong as we would hope it to be at the time. And having that agility and that ability to actually make decisions in real time, to go back out to the market and go back out to our campaigns and things like that and start making changes to bring us back up to the level that we were expecting, was a super key driver of the overall performance for us during Black Friday last year. And so, without Matillion, that just wouldn't have been possible, because we have to juggle a lot of incoming different sets of data, put it all together, and then output it. And to be able to do that, in a couple of minutes, every 5 minutes was a key driver of the overall performance.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, actually, because Black Friday, must be, for an e-commerce team, must be the busiest time of year for you, if not the busiest, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a huge, we do it across a whole week. It's a huge week for us. In some cases, it can make or break the year. So yeah, it's a massive one for us.
And were there specific features that you use to achieve this, just for the benefit of our audience?
Yeah, I mean, the major kind of inputs would be coming from a SQL database that we had. So we were able to tap into that, and then we were also able to tap into some of the real-time GA Google Analytics raw data tables that we get into BigQuery. And it's merging all that together. So those default components within Matillion allow us to do that. So it was great.
That's fantastic. And you've mentioned, some of the things that you really love about Matillion. What have you been most impressed by?
Yeah, I mean, I love the flexibility, and a lot of the times I get problems where I go, I could probably do that in Matillion, and I go, and without really knowing, but I'm pretty sure I can do that in Matillion, and then we spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes in there and do a little research, and we can do it, and it works really well. So I had an example of that was recently we wanted to. We had a situation where we've just gone through a bit of a re-platform with ghdhair.com. And a lot of the systems have been migrated and so forth. It's quite a big, lengthy process. But of course, some things, fall through the cracks and so forth. So it used to be a feed between our systems and our CRM system. And somehow that just got missed in the migration. And so, the options were that we go back to our development teams and our agencies and say, you need to build this out for us again. And that would have taken weeks and, cost, thousands of pounds. I said, listen, I can probably do this in Matillion for you quite easily. And so using the API components in Matillion and some of the data transfer components, writing back out to an FTP site, we were able to build that whole process for the business in about a day, I think. It took about a day. At the same time saved the company weeks of work and thousands of pounds of costs. So yeah, it was a real win.
That's amazing. So it actually cut out the whole need to go outside. So you can do that project within your team and in a day as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And I mean, in terms of metrics, that is a really good one that you've just
Yes.
shared. Are there any more that you can share?
You know, we don't, I haven't really taken the time to sit down and actually go through and do it in a very scientific way. But yes, I mean, we're saving hundreds of hours every year in terms of manual kind of processing and work. And I'm sure there's a huge amount of cost savings there. And then when you add in the fact that the business is now viewing and being able to see data in a way and make decisions much faster and make more informed decisions, which is really what the data provides to the business, then you have a component there of just the business being more efficient, which is harder to quantify, but it's certainly there.
And I mean, just talking about kind of manual effort, I think within the world of data, I think it's often kind of underrepresented how much manual effort can actually go into preparing reports, joining data from disparate sources together. So it must be incredibly refreshing for your team to be able to do that and provide insights to the business so quickly.
Yeah, it's a huge win. I mean, it's very rewarding when you can turn around to the business and produce amazing results. We use Tableau for a lot of the reporting, and so everything processed through Matillion is pre-aggregated. It's small and usable, and it's an analytics ready data set that we're able to produce there. And so Tableau works really well, nicely on top of that. So yeah, I mean, the results are incredible, really.
And so that's your team, and I guess we've spoken about inside the business. How about the advantages to your customers? Look at it from their point of view. Would there be anything that's changed for them?
At the moment, I would struggle to give you an idea of that. I think we do have plans going forward to kind of integrate more of the data, customer data, into kind of various production kind of applications. So things like using sort of on-site personalization or doing some more real-time kind of messaging and so forth, and communication back to the customer. But yeah, we're still working on that, so we're not quite there yet. But once we do, I think Matillion will play a big part in that.
That's awesome. And I suppose as a GHD user and customer myself, I think it's always cool when a company is thinking about personalization and personalized journeys. It's very cool to hear that Matillion could be part of that in the future. And so you've spoken about the possibilities moving forward, and you just touched on productivity with data. Widely speaking, what does data productivity mean to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's a lot of wastage, generally speaking, in data, and so it's really about being quite concise with what we do and how we do it, and making sure that the business is going to see some value from it. So everything we do, we try to assign some value to, or we try to say, how is this going to be valuable? Are we going to do it if it's not valuable, and so forth. So there is, we do try and steer the ship, if you like, towards Value Town, if you like. But but that's always part and parcel of it. But there's cultural aspects there. There's a lot of kind of, that's not an easy task, but we do aim for that.
So can you sum up in one or two sentences the overall impact that Matillion has had on GHD?
Yeah, I think it's the right data at the right time to the right people, I think is what I can say about Matillion. And, it just allows us to have that flexibility and the speed and the turnaround times, and, getting that time, from a business question to a business answer as short as possible. And, I think with Matillion, we've kind of reduced that from days or weeks to, in some cases, minutes and hours.
Which is fantastic for the teams that you work for, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Finally, Johnathan, congratulations on your Matillion Emerald Award. How do you feel to have been named as an Emerald Award winner?
Yeah, well, it's great. It's about time, really. No, just kidding. It's like I said, I've been a customer of Matillion for a long time. Actually, it's at least sort of like 6 or 7 plus years, and like it's helped. It's been a tremendous source of inspiration to me and knowledge and learning. And so yeah, I'm very very happy to be a part of it.
Well, many congratulations to you and the team. Thank you for sharing the story, both from an Emerald Award perspective and here today. Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for joining as well. We shall leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.